Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Severin and today we're speaking about the new moon in Capricorn on the 12th of January 2021. I really hope you had already a good transition to the new year and you already found some time to center, to ground and to align, because you will see that's what we need this year so much. And this new moon is kind of a hint of how do we have to take care of ourselves. And that is very much then influenced with Uranus and Pluto for this new moon. And I will speak a little bit about that. But let me go to Uranus first, because that's really the energy that we're going to have very alive this year. Uranus and Saturn are going to square 3 times this year. And we're going to have a lot of energy in Aquarius, therefore, and a lot of energy from Taurus, the Uranian energy there, that are battling with each other. So Uranus is basically this storm that's brewing, and you can already feel that a little bit this new moon, that things are going to change, things are going to be very different than we have expected. The unexpected becomes the norm. It's challenging because we have maybe thought with this new moon as well that maybe some old ways, some patterns, the way that we behave, the way that we are thinking is what we are applying into our daily life. It's almost this automatic response to our lives, and then suddenly we're getting triggered by some new circumstances, you know, a new guest, a new job, and something that's not working, an unexpected confrontation, situations that we are uncomfortable with. So many shifts and changes that we could look for, and you will see them into your personal life. And then when the storm is brewing, it's probably not the best that we are just trying to hold on of who we are or who we think we are and just behave in the same old way. Well, we probably will try with this new moon, but we will see that there is a new dynamic required from us. There's a new flexibility that we have to adapt into. And that means in the best possible way, we have to allow to become transparent. How do we become transparent? By seeing with Pluto what is still there, that we are standing in the way. Where do we have to make space and let go of our reactivity? Where do we have to let go of our own pain body? Where do we have to drop our own anger? Where do we have to drop and make life easy again? Where do we are making it so complicated by trying to have our own personal way and believing that that's the right way? Well, Uranus will tell you like, no, you have no clue. And basically that's going to be so challenging this year, because everything that we think we know, we have to drop. And that's how we form a new society. First, we have to open up. We have to recognize how we have been standing in the way, and we don't have to even figure out the new. We just have to become open that actually something new can even enter our lives. So with this, it's kind of this Uranian energy already with this new moon is like freedom from the known. And this new moon is very much about Capricorn being in the old still. So it's like being triggered, like, and maybe challenged and exposed in a vulnerable and naked way as well, of like, that's where I'm still so unflexible. That's where I'm still so stuck. That's where I'm still so rigid, because the Capricorn way has maybe served us and has been beneficial to function, to be more productive, to really function in the society and economy that we have been living in for the last 10, 20 or 100 years, in the sense of how our productive and our economical system is functioning. But now more than ever, we are moving into Aquarius. And Aquarius is very exciting and exhausting as well. Because when we look at Aquarius, at the end of the month, on the 20th of January, the Sun is moving into Aquarius. Then Venus is moving into Aquarius. Mercury is going retrograde and is also going into Aquarius. And then the Moon comes into Aquarius. So we have possibly, like we will have next month, 6 planets in Aquarius, and Uranus is gonna still being squaring them. So imagine like how much Uranian or Aquarian energy is there. And that's also gonna be making astrology much more popular, because Uranus and Aquarius is like the ruling planet or the sign for astrology. And that is simply in a time where there is so much shift, so much unexpected changes, and the unknown as well, and almost like a chaos where we are then turning to meaning, and we want to understand that life still has meaning, and there is an underlying sense that we can relate to, and then astrology really becomes beautiful, because we see, oh, this is just a cycle that we have to pass through. We don't have to kind of get rid of ourselves, or we are losing or failing. It's just like when there is a storm brewing, we really have to make ourselves transparent. And that's an art in itself. Like this is like the real allowing for something higher to play out through us. And it's not something that we have to be afraid of, in the sense of like, oh, we are not needed anymore. No, we're becoming the vehicle for shifting into a new society, for changing and bringing up turmoil and making space for what we haven't even known that could be possible. And that can be, for many, that will be very frightening, because that also will bring up like the challenge of like, how has the old system worked and how it's not working anymore. And there are people trying with force and violation and riots and trying to get security and trying to get to survive for themselves, because there is a distrust basically in the future, the distrust in the meaning of the future, and everything will turn out in its own sense, like in the best possible way. And that's exactly what we're going to see one extreme, like especially by the full moon by the end of this month, where it's going to be much more triggered. But at the same time, if we can look at it as an invitation, as an opportunity, then we can say, well, this is not something to step away from or to try to make smaller. No, it's actually, it requires from us to actually really see what is there that we can now actually expose ourselves. Where do we have to be honest? Where do we have to be direct? Where do we have to let our pants being pulled down and vulnerably express that this is how we feel right now and what really pushes us, and where our limits are still there, and hopefully then also recognize that the world is not falling apart, or our friends are still there, and vulnerability brings more connection. And in this unknown, we don't have to know the answer. We don't have to know the next step. And in that, Uranus is pushing us so close to our hearts, to our feelings, because we're going to be feeling so alive, because things are changing so quickly from positive to negative, to opportunity, to challenge, to finding hope, to feeling miserable. And these dualities being so close and shifting so quickly that we are coming closer and closer to duality. And in that origin point where duality emerges, it's not that we have to actually do something and choose one side, but we can actually realize more and more that we are just an expression of that very paradox ourselves. And that means we don't have to make the decision, we can just enjoy the chaos, we can enjoy the hilariousness of being in a human body and seeing the spectacle being played out in front of us, while everything is going to be presented to us in its own time, even though that might look ridiculous, that might look scary, but this is really being part of making us feel very alive and transparent, and changes or new life situations coming into our lives. And that is like with that Pluto right now being there, this new moon in Capricorn, because Capricorn relates towards stability, towards perseverance, towards trying hard. Like it really shows like where is the Plutonic, like where is the very bottom of where you are stuck, where you are still holding on to something, and that Uranus would like to show us that there is something that you can become playful again, where you don't have to hold on, you don't have to have it your way, you don't have to push strongly. And that's going to be challenging, and that's going to be a playfulness is required. And at the same time it can be that there are tears coming up where we can admit honestly, like, this is where I'm still in control. This is where I'm holding on to security. This is where I'm trying really hard to not let the ship sink and to kind of float above the water and swim really strongly and try to remain really calm on the outside, but actually inwardly I'm really afraid. And so this flexibility is really what's required. So you're going to feel that with this new moon already, and you see me smiling because that's very much my energy. I'm at home, so I'm really looking forward for this year. And it doesn't mean that it's just easy for me. it's just I'm feeling very alive. And today as well, maybe you feel as well, like you have to make room for changes. You have to be open to adapt. You have to be willing to do things differently that you might used be. And like as soon as we started to blame, we are already seeing in ourselves that there is room for more flexibility. So in that sense, I hope you enjoyed this new moon talk. It has been very spontaneously being made in an abandoned house. I had to run away from my family and from my retreat center because it was just crazy this morning. At the same time, I had to see when is that spot opening by itself, and I can just make space to actually just try to find some words for that diversity and that beauty that is actually emerging with that new moon in Capricorn. So I really hope you can see the beauty and the invitation of also finding more clarity of where we are not yet, and honestly admitting that and seeing how that brings more connection and vulnerability and aliveness in us. So with this, I wish you all the best. Have a beautiful new moon, and I'm gonna hear from you in 2 weeks. By the end of the month, we're gonna speak about the full moon in Leo. So we're gonna have a Leo and Aquarius opposition, and that's really gonna help us to step more into the beauty of this Aquarian energy. So I wish you all the best, and goodbye.